Most travelers think of Europe when they think of stunning beaches, historic sites, freedom, democracy, and security. But there is a fair amount of risk in some places on the continent. Which remote and hazardous regions of Europe are there? Is there any isolated or a dangerous area in Europe? We will find out in this video about the 10 most isolated, hazardous, and unsafe European villages you should never visit. Number 10. Helgoland, Germany. Only 1,300 people live in the remotest archipelago of the nation, Helgoland. Despite its small size and remote location, these two islands have played a significant role in shaping history over the past 2 centuries, and they are also credited with giving rise to Germany's current national anthem. Due to the archipelago's strategic significance, which unfortunately led to intense bombardment and destruction during World War II, all islanders were forced to temporarily relocate. Only the island of Hoptinsel is inhabited these days, while the smaller island is mostly used for ecotourism and partially occupied by Helgoland Airport. Helgoland can be reached by air or sea, with flights leaving from a number of German coastal cities. Number 9. Bulnes, Spain. Until recently, the only route to enter and exit this remote village was a strenuous hike along a narrow mountain path. Nonetheless, a 2.2-kilometer funicular connecting Bulnes with the neighboring village of Ponsbos was built by the local government in 2001. Although Bulnes is sometimes referred to as the most remote village in Spain, this is no longer entirely accurate. Thanks to the construction of a funicular that opened recently, mountaineers and nature enthusiasts now frequent the village as a starting point for the breathtaking hiking trails that surround it. The remote village, which is well known for its cheese that is made nearby, has cobblestone streets and stone buildings. It is devoid of automobile traffic and pollution, making it an untouched gem that will astound any visitor. Number 8. Albania, Hungary. Albania is a tiny rural village with a single unpaved road connecting it to the rest of the nation. It is entirely encircled by undeveloped forests. There are only about 100 people living in the village after decades of population decline. The majority are German-speaking Slovenes who have a sizable diaspora in Hungary. The village is often called the Hungarian Switzerland due to its beautiful natural surroundings and German heritage. The village itself consists of a single street, a church, and a restaurant that offers food that is produced nearby. Strangely, the villagers are well known for their expert pottery abilities. In actuality, there are still 2 multi-generational companies that ship their ceramic goods overseas. Number 7. Osmolota, Ukraine. Perhaps surprisingly, Ukraine is not just a land covered in endless, level fields of wheat. It appears that the Carpathian mountain range crosses the southwest corner of the nation, where it shares borders with Slovakia, Romania, and Hungary. This hilly and wooded area is home to a small population that is split up into a number of reserves and protected areas. Osmolota, a secluded village that was first established in the 19th century as a community of timber loggers, is one of the few settlements that do exist here. Only 60 people live in Osmolota, which is divided into an isolated upstream section and a downstream center. It is located along the Linditsia River, which is regarded by many as the cleanest river in Europe. Few visitors reach the village in its entirety due to its isolation and inadequate infrastructure. These visitors are almost exclusively domestic visitors. The surrounding forest of Osmolota has numerous hiking trails that are completely free of contemporary annoyances. There are also numerous unusual hiding places, flimsy hanging bridges, and picturesque locations. Number 6. Mykonos, Faroe Islands. Halfway between Scotland and Iceland, the Faroes Archipelago is a small, rugged patch of land that is home to breathtaking views of green promontories, sea stacks, and a diverse array of wildlife. One of the most remote communities in the country resides on the westernmost island of the territory, Mykonos, which bears the same name. With only 10 permanent residents, the village can only be reached by a ridiculously large helicopter service or a seasonal ferry ride from Sorvera Port during the months of May through August. The only settlement on the island is a small village divided by a narrow river stream and dotted with houses with turf roofs that line streets without cars. Just 6 of Mykonos' houses are really occupied during the winter, leaving the village abandoned for almost 6 months. Despite being inaccessible, the village manages to draw thousands of inquisitive tourists every summer because of its large puffin colony and the Mykonos Holmer Lighthouse located on the Isle of Mykonos Holmer. The latter is connected to the village via a narrow footbridge that crosses a steep chasm. Number 5. Vagnans, Norway. Just 50 people live in the isolated fishing community of Vagnans, which is located in the far northern region of Norway. Nestled amidst the immense emptiness of Sverholt Peninsula, Vagnans boasts a post office, a wooden chapel, and a solitary street, the regional road, which remarkably comes to a stop in the village due to the lack of neighboring towns. This small fishing village sits on its shore is entirely dependent on its fishery. In fact, the Discovery Channel produced an entire series about village life in 2016, with a focus on a local business owner who established a fishing farm to try and stave off the village's inevitable demographic decline. Number 4. Sandvik, Iceland. The northernmost inhabited place in Iceland is the remote island of Grimsey, which is situated about 40 kilometers off the coast of the mainland. There are 60 people living in Sandvik, the only settlement on the island, and nearly all of them are employed as fishermen or in the summer tourism sector. Despite its isolated location, the island is reasonably accessible for adventurous travelers during the summer months thanks to regular 20-minute flights from Akureyri and a 3-hour ferry ride from the village of Dalvik. A spherical monument located a short distance from the actual location of the Arctic Circle marks the island's traversal, but its most famous feature is its adorable colony of puffins. Number 3. Inverary, Scotland. Located along the southern coastline of the Knoydart Peninsula, the Scottish village of Inverary is undoubtedly the most remote settlement in all of Great Britain. In actuality, there are only 2 ways to get to this remote community, either a 2-day reckless trek through the mountains or a 30-minute ferry ride offered by 2 different companies. This rural community is actually not connected to the national road network. Inverary is home to just 70 people, but what the village lacks in population, it more than makes up for with breathtaking views, unspoiled wilderness, and an overall calm that is unmatched throughout the nation. Surprisingly for its tiny size, the village offers a good range of facilities such as opulent lodges, boat rentals, and a respectable selection of restaurants, the most notable of which is the Old Forge, which is officially regarded by the Guinness Book of Records as the UK's most remote pub. Number 2. Belishia Guba, Russia. Russia has dozens of the most remote settlements in the world, most of which are concentrated in its less populated Asian region. Russia is by far the largest country on Earth and one of the least populated countries. In the middle of the 1950s, the island was turned into a nuclear test site, the location of the largest man-made explosion in recorded history, and the town eventually became militarized. The majority of the town's residents are still active military personnel as of 2020, and access to the archipelago is restricted and needs special permission from the government. If you are able to travel here, you will discover a harsh environment with wintertime lows of -18 degrees. Number 1. Rautjärvi, Finland. Rautjärvi, about 12 kilometers from the Norwegian border, is essentially a collection of wooden houses in the middle of Finland's frozen wasteland, devoid of any roads, stores, or other features that make up our modern way of life. This remote Sami village, Rautjärvi, is over 30 kilometers away from the closest settlement. It has 10 houses, none of which are inhabited year-round, though there is usually at least one villager in Rautjärvi at any given time. The primary source of income for this rural community is the herding of reindeer, as agriculture is not feasible due to the harsh climate. Unexpectedly, not many seasonal visitors undertake the arduous and lengthy trek. As there are no roads leading to or from the village, travelers must traverse a 40-kilometer dirt pathway using an ATV or, alternatively, a more conventional dog sled. Ultimately, these were the most isolated and hazardous villages in all of Europe, and you should avoid visiting them. If you like our video, kindly like and subscribe to our channel.